This story happened in the year 1991, and it is a very tragic but true story. My wife Alex and I were invited to my best friends, Tim and Jessica's private mountain house for the night, and to have a sort of small house party. And they had recently gotten engaged and invited us to celebrate with them. They also asked my brother Daniel and his girlfriend Madison to join us as well. My brother drove us all to Tim and Jessica's house. It was a wonderful private house in the woods and mountains. This took place during the summer, so the weather was really nice as well. We drove up the long driveway, parked, and headed inside to greet our friends. We got to the house around 7 p.m. Had been preparing a meal for all of us. We ate dinner, chatted, and reminisced about old times, and then played some fun couples games while we shared some wine and snacks. I honestly don't remember what the time was. I'm guessing around 10 p.m. or something. But we heard a knock on the front door. We all looked at each other with great confusion. I asked Tim if he was expecting anyone else, and he said no. Jessica opened the door and I stood next to her. And it was a woman. She must have been in her early 20s. She looked pale and had dark bags under her eyes. She said that she and her husband had broken down and they needed help. She then pointed behind herself and down the driveway. There is a pickup truck with the hood of the bonnet open and some guy waving at us. Myself and Daniel didn't know the first thing about cars, but Tim did. And so Tim offered to go down with some of his tools and to take a look. Meanwhile, the girl waited inside. She took a seat and the first thing she said was, "Do you have any food?" We all didn't say anything for a second, probably because of how weird and awkward the situation was. Jessica, being kind, said there was some leftover chicken that she could have. Jessica made her up a plate and handed it to the girl. She started to eat it so quickly, like she was starving or something. Each of us tried to make small talk with her, but she gave some vague answers though, and it didn't seem like she was interested in talking. I asked what she was doing out here and how they broke down, as I found it really odd that they got stranded right at the bottom of the driveway. She then said that me and my brother were on our way to go camping. I said, "Brother, I thought you said you're with your husband." She carried on, slowly eating before mumbling and said something like, "Oh yeah, I met my husband." I thought, something just isn't right with all of this. And so, I went to take a look through the window down the driveway, and I couldn't see Tim or her supposedly husband. I said to my brother Daniel that we should go down and check if everything was alright, and he agreed with me. Daniel and I headed down the long driveway, while sharing each other's suspicions about that girl. When we got down to the car, Tim nor that guy was anywhere in sight. But what we did see was the toolbox that Tim had brought with him. It was on the floor with tools scattered everywhere. Daniel and I called out a few times. Tim, are you out here?" Both of us scanned the nearby woods and we couldn't see a thing. It had gradually been getting darker, and we couldn't see anything without flashlights, so going further into the woods was pointless. And so Daniel said that we should go back and call the police. But halfway up the driveway, we heard a scream coming from the house. It was one of the girls. Daniel and I ran up to the house as fast as we could, burst through the door and couldn't see where the girls were. We each called for our other halves' names. We heard another scream coming from upstairs. We ran upstairs and saw that girl kicking and screaming at the bathroom door, while holding a kitchen knife. Daniel and I tackled her to the ground and disarmed her of the knife. Daniel held the girl down while I went to check on the girls. Jessica had been slashed with a knife on her arm. It wasn't serious, but she was in some pain. Alex and Madison were untouched. I said that Tim is missing and we don't know where he is. Alex went to call the police but said that she couldn't get through. She said that there was no dial tone. As we couldn't get through to the police, I said let's just tie this girl up and wait until we figure out what to do. I asked Jessica where the flashlights were. Daniel and I grabbed the flashlights and said, We needed to look for Tim as we think he was in trouble. I said to the girls, keep trying to get through to the police. We'll be back in 20 minutes and then we would drive to the nearest police station or anywhere with a phone in Daniel's car. Daniel and I went outside and we searched nearby for Tim. We walked around in the woods calling Tim's name. After some time of searching, we came across a telephone pole that had been chopped down. Someone must have done this on purpose, and that was the reason why we couldn't get through to the police. The line had been disconnected. We need to get back to the girls right now, I said to Daniel. We started running back towards the house, and then we heard something on the other side of the woods. It was what sounded like 2 gunshots. Daniel and I carried on running. Eventually, we got back to the bottom of the driveway, and were shocked to see that the pickup truck, along with the tools, were now gone. We didn't have time to ask questions as he wanted to get back to the house and to check the girls. When we returned to the house, it was empty and the girls were gone. And somehow, so was the girl who was tied up. We searched the entire house, the backyard, and again the nearby woods, and found no one or nothing at all. Me and Daniel got in our car and drove as fast as we could to the nearest police station, and we told the police everything that had happened. We waited at the police station for them to return. They came up with nothing, just like us. I'm gonna skip all the searching and mourning because this story is depressing enough. This story has haunted me my whole life. I don't know what happened that night, who those people were, where my wife or the others had gone missing to. My brother and I remain close and still do to this day.
My name is Gordon. I'm 22 years old, but this story happened when I was 10, and it takes place in Florida. Me, my 6-year-old brother, and parents were on our way to Disney World for the weekend. It was our first time driving there, and we got a bit lost. We had to leave in the afternoon, and it was quite a long drive from where we lived. And like I said, we got a bit lost. It was dark outside, and we had to drive through the country lanes, but it wasn't just dark. It was basically pitch black because there were no street lamps whatsoever. The country roads we were driving through were quite creepy. I know me and my brother were freaked out, and to be honest, I think my parents were too. We had been driving for a while and I had to pee very bad. I know we could pull over, but I really didn't want to because it was scary as hell out there. But unfortunately, I couldn't hold it anymore, so I asked my dad to pull over. I got outside and I walked over to some nearby bushes, which led into a forest. It was pretty cold outside and I was shivering. Like I said, it was pitch black, but I could see a little bit because our car's headlights were on. I went to do my business when I heard a branch snap. I looked up and towards the woods, and I saw some kind of light. It was a lantern. I looked closer and it was floating up, and then I saw it wasn't floating. Someone was picking it up. And the lantern light revealed a face I would never forget. It was a man who looked to be in his late 40s. He had a gray beard, and he was smiling with his eyes wide open. He had crooked yellow teeth. I stood there in shock with tears in my eyes. He then motioned with his finger for me to come toward him. I pulled up my pants and ran back to my car. My mom said to me, "Are you okay, sweetie?" I just smiled and said, "Yeah." And we continued driving. I didn't say anything to anyone about what I saw, and I still had to pee, but what was on my mind was that man I just saw. We finally arrived and I was able to use the bathroom. Me and my brother were, and still are close, so that night while we were laying in our beds, I told him what I saw. And to my surprise, he didn't seem that freaked out when I told him. He looked down with a worried look on his face. Then he told me something he saw in the car while we were pulled over. He was looking outside of his window, which were farm fields. He said he saw what looked to be a family of 4 standing in the middle of a field, who were also holding lanterns. He then asked our mom who were those people, and her response was, "What people? There's no one out there." And at that point, that's when I got back in the car. That night, and many nights after, me and my brother have discussed We discussed what we saw, and we didn't know if it was real or not, or our imagination. I personally still believe to this day what I saw was real. This story still haunts me and gives me chills every time I think of it. What do you think?